Hi everyone, I'm Aya. Welcome to the Good Siren podcast, episode 0.1. On this channel, I'd love us to talk about all things self-development, spirituality, living a good, full life, and hopefully even more topics can be included in the future. Since this is the very first video I'm filming for this channel, I'd also like to share with you why I'm calling it the Good Siren. So I came up with the name Good Siren, or the name came to me actually because it was catchy. I really liked it. If we're talking about sirens, we'd think maybe the mermaid siren, the siren's singing voice that lures people to their death, or like the ambulance siren that signals bad news. But I wanted it to be the Good Siren because here we want to talk about all things that make us feel good, that help us live a better life, a life full of love and happiness. I want it to be the sounds that make us feel good. That's why it's the Good Siren. Since we're talking authenticity today, let me tell you that I'm still figuring this YouTube thing out, and especially because this is my first video, I don't want to let perfectionism get in the way, so I'm just doing whatever I can right now. I'm doing my best. Also, I filmed so many videos before this one, but I just never posted them because I just thought they weren't good enough. But to be honest, you have to start somewhere, so I'm going to start here. Here we are. A very sad story. I actually filmed this video before, but then I lost the footage. The footage was broken. I couldn't open it. It was pretty sad. I cried, but I was also determined to film it again, so here we are. Also, because I'm just filming this again spontaneously, I completely forgot to charge my camera. I really hope that it doesn't die along the way. Let's get to the content of this video, which will be about authenticity. By the end of this video, you will feel like it's very easy to show up authentically in all of the things you do in life. This video is perfect for you if you have ever felt just a tiny bit confused about the term, if you find yourself struggling to show up authentically or struggling with even understanding what it even means for you. So if you want to show up more authentically because you've heard someone say it, just be yourself, just show up authentically, just speak your truth. And you were like, but I am being myself. Or am I? This video is going to be able to help you a lot. So let's talk about what authenticity actually means. When people tell you to show up more authentically, tell you to just be yourself, be your true self, stand in your own truth, show up as yourself, it is often difficult, especially when we're not sure who we really are and we've never asked ourselves those questions. We've never tried to figure it out. I would like to tell you guys a story about the term authenticity. It was in uni. One of my musicology professors had a discussion with us about the term authenticity. She actually didn't want us to use the term in our papers because it's a very abstract term. It's like it's an empty term until someone gives it meaning. And the meaning is different for everyone. So in an academic paper where we work with facts and evaluate those facts, stating that something is authentic or inauthentic doesn't really clarify anything because it could mean anything. So for example, I'm from Thailand, and explaining what authentic Thai music is to you guys, or what authentic Thai food is supposed to taste like to you guys, will bring up a lot of debate because it will be different for every Thai person. It depends on which region they might be from. It depends on how their parents cooked for them growing up, how they spiced the food, for example, or what their parents listened to. So what I want to say is that what actually makes a person's understanding of what authenticity means to them is or are their own unique experiences. It's the people that they were surrounded by, it's how they grew up, it's all the experience that they made up until this point of their life. Here, at this point, misconceptions about authenticity or misunderstanding about what it could mean are arising. Nowadays, authenticity has sort of become a trend, and suddenly people on the internet all have their own ideas about what authenticity means and want to project their idea of authenticity onto others. For many people, this trend of showing showing up authentically is represented by specific things. For example, if someone shows up without makeup or filters, if someone is speaking about an ugly truth about their past, or if someone openly talks about their body or their sex life, there are so many different understandings of what it should mean, what it's supposed to mean, by which I do not mean that they are not showing up authentically by doing those things. That is not what I'm trying to say here. I recently also saw a reel on Instagram of people in the comments associating the word authenticity with a girl like not putting fillers, not injecting Botox, stuff like that. But really, it doesn't work that way. We can only determine for ourselves how to be authentic and live authentically. We do not have the right to determine how other people's authenticity has to look like. Also, evaluations like she's doing is so fake right now, or she's being so fake right now, he's being so fake right now, whatever, they're actually completely invalid, because you cannot know if they are showing up authentically in that moment, in that video or not. It could be very well that they resonated with showing up like that the most in that very moment. So that's them being authentic in the moment. And if they want to call it being authentic, then that's probably what it is for them. So conclusion is, we can never know if someone else is showing up authentically or not. We can't evaluate that for them. And yes, maybe you can say that, oh, I feel like they're showing up authentically. I feel the energy, or they are radiating authenticity right now. But even that is subjective. You can feel it, some other people might not be able to feel it. Maybe a group of people feel it, and then another group of people will feel like it's fake or cringy or whatever. And I feel like another misconception about authenticity is also that you always have to show up in the same way. If you, for example, you stated somewhere that you don't like drinking coffee, or that you don't drink coffee in general, but then you suddenly post a story on Instagram of an amazing cappuccino in a beautiful cafe, people will be very quick to say that you only did that for attention or for clicks, but they cannot know that, right? It could be that in that moment you craved coffee so much. Like, I have that with licorice. I don't like licorice, but there are times when I crave it so much, and I will literally go to the supermarket and buy a pack of licorice and just eat it. And sometimes I just eat like 3 pieces and then I don't want it anymore. And the same also goes for trends. I see so many people judging other people for following trends, but trends are there as an inspiration for you to try something new. So if there's a trend going on, since we talked about the coffee example, if there's a trend going on to post your drink from the cafe that you went to, and I, who normally doesn't drink coffee, go to a coffee place and do that, other people will immediately assume that I'm doing it because of the trend. But there's also the chance that I've never even heard of that trend, and I just felt like doing it. Like an aligned action kind of thing, an intuition kind of thing, that it feels like the right thing to do for me in that moment. I'm definitely not demonizing trends here. I think they can be a good inspirational source for you to try out new things, for you to experiment with things, because sometimes before something is trending, you've never even considered it. You've never even thought that it was possible to combine this kind of clothing piece with this other clothing piece, and then you suddenly do it and it suddenly works for you. You know what I mean? So I'm not demonizing trends here. That's not what's happening here, definitely. It can be a good thing as long as you do it mindfully, so you can still show up authentically while following a trend. You could make a video about how you're trying it out and what you think about it, honestly. I mean, we're human beings. It's in our nature to flow and to change. One of my favorite quotes is, change is the only constant in reality, because change is the only thing you can count on. But people are so quick to judge when you make a statement somewhere. It doesn't matter if it's with your friends, with acquaintances, or online. You say something like, oh, I don't like this, and then you suddenly do that thing, eat that thing, like that thing, whatever, and they will immediately assume that you either lied to them or that you are faking it. It's like in one moment you can resonate with this very thing, and next week it could be very different. I think everyone experiences this in their lives, but when other people do it, they're so quick to point fingers and judge immediately. It's like people are so scared of change. I don't even know why. I mean, I know why. I'm scared of change sometimes, but I understand change. What I'm saying is you can be like the most energetic, goofiest person in one moment, and then in another situation you could resonate more with staying quiet and mysterious, right? That's not fake or inauthentic. That's just, you're just doing what you resonate with in the moment, and that's the most authentic thing someone can ever do. So from what we've been talking about until now, resonance is the feeling we're looking for. And yes, sometimes the problem lies in the difficulty to tell apart what you want from what people want you to want. Especially if you have fears of judgment, fears of being perceived or seen, or if you have people-pleasing tendencies. You spend your time thinking too much about what to do, how to react, how to respond, in order to be accepted by specific people, or worse, even by everyone in some cases. Do this often enough, and this kind of thought process starts to become second nature to you, and you are suddenly an expert at analyzing people and figuring out the exact thing they want. And I know that this can also be a very useful skill. It doesn't always have to be a negative thing, but if you're only doing it in order to get their acceptance and appreciation of you, then it just becomes really toxic and unhealthy at that point. Trust me, I speak from experience. It's me. I'm the person with the fears of being perceived or seen. I'm also the person with people-pleasing tendencies. I was like the biggest people pleaser. That was really unhealthy for me. If you're asking how bad could it be? In school, I think I was in 7th grade. I mean, I was around, 14 probably. And there was this one girl in class. She came to me during break time, during one school day. She gave me her notebook and she asked me, "Hey, I know you're really good in like English class. Could you please do my homework for me?" Not, "Can I copy from you? Could you please do my homework for me?" And me, I didn't want people to think I wasn't nice. I was people-pleasing. I sat there during my break time and I did her homework. I was doing her homework. That's how bad it was. There were a lot more instances. I was just too scared to speak up for myself. But I've learned and I've changed. And if I can, then anyone can. At least I believe so. I understand that many people have been influenced by their family members, friends, surroundings, media, spoken and unspoken rules of society without even noticing. It's just been seeping into them. Seeping into all of us. So a lot of times the decisions we make are influenced by at least one of the things I just mentioned. I understand that we influence each other and inspire each other, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually a really good thing. It's actually a beautiful thing, especially in art and in anything. Actually, it's nice to be inspired by each other. But sometimes it gets to the point that it's not just inspiration, it's the influence, and sometimes it manifests as this fear of disappointing the other person because we don't think the same, or we don't agree, or we don't do what they want us to do. And that's when it becomes really harmful, especially if we don't ask ourselves the question that really matters. Do I resonate with this decision? Because oftentimes we don't know what it means and where to start searching for the answer. So this term resonance, or the definition of aligning with something, it's just something that just feels right for you. It feels like the right thing to do in the moment. It feels like the right thing to say in the moment. You feel peaceful, and even if you have this fear of doing it, like for example, I struggle a lot with social anxiety, but there was this one time when I felt so called to just go out by myself, and I normally don't go out during that time, but it felt right to me. And like, I had the best walk ever on that day, but I had to go through the center of the city. It was on a Saturday evening and it was packed, and there was also an event. They were playing really loud music. I was all alone walking through that crowd, a person with social anxiety. I was scared. I felt really anxious. There was a moment when I felt like I couldn't breathe, but I fought through it, and yeah, I had like the best time. I was buying myself a really nice drink, and I saw the most beautiful sunset. So that was really nice, and it felt like the right thing to do, and it didn't make any sense in that moment though. Like, it wouldn't have made any sense to anyone else, but to me it felt right, and that's kind of how it feels like. Or it could be something like very simple. When I film YouTube videos, I like wearing comfy hoodies and putting on really light makeup because it makes me feel comfortable and it makes me feel confident, and that's how I like to show up in front of the camera. And then I always do it every time I film. But then like that one day I feel like I want to put a dress on and really play with my makeup. So that's also just something I would just resonate with, and I would just go with it because it just feels right in that moment, and it feels like it inspires me and motivates me and makes me feel confident. It also just feels like the authentic decision in that moment. I always say, if it resonates and it doesn't harm anyone, including you, then why not? Then just go for it. And like I've mentioned before, I think it's important to ask yourself the important questions to get to know yourself. Do you know who you are? Can you answer that question with a certain yes? Can you? And if I were to ask you follow-up questions, do you know what you want? Do you know where to go? Where you're headed towards? Or want to head towards in life? Do you know who you want to become? Do you know your own values? What is important to you? And do you know your own boundaries? What is a no-go for you? And if you don't know how to answer them at all, now's the right time to start. Figure yourself out, because the answer is already within you. You just have to find them. I think that it's a good thing to have a balance between knowing where you're headed towards and staying open for what's coming towards you. So there are also many ways to get to know yourself. I can suggest a few to you. For example, you could take the questions that I've asked you before and use them as journal prompts. Or you can even like just read the questions to yourself out loud, have a conversation with yourself. It will lead to pretty deep insights about yourself, about who you are and what you want in life. I can suggest to really ramble. Don't just try to find one word and answer the questions with only one word or one sentence. It's not that simple. Ramble. Say things or write down things like, oh, I really don't know how to answer this, and it bothers me so much that I haven't asked myself this before. I've never asked myself this kind of question. It triggers me so much. Do it. It will feel so liberating, and it will probably lead to some realizations. I'm not asking you to, in the end, be able to sum up the answer to who are you. There's this book where Eckhart Tolle, I think that's how you pronounce his name, he says that language is very limiting and it's impossible to capture who you are, the essence of who you are, in words. It just doesn't do it justice. But by doing this, by trying to get to know yourself through these methods, you come closer to being more authentic or showing up more authentically every day. And that can look different every day because we're in motion all the time, we're changing all the time. Just like I said, authenticity can look different for you every day, so it needs practice. It's like a daily choice you have to make to show up authentically today. The day you just woke up to. I will show up authentically. I will speak my truth. I won't let anything stand in the way of me being authentic. And that is why it's so important that you get to know yourself better. These days, I've been using the method of asking myself when something triggers me or when I fall back into the same patterns again of not wanting to speak up for myself or not wanting to express my own opinions. I ask myself, do I know who I am? And the follow-up question that I ask myself is, however the people around me react to what I just said or what I just did, will it change who I am? The person that I am and the person that I want to become, will it change that? Will I let that change me? So being triggered, feeling angry, feeling sad, or even feeling like I want to give up, I want to compromise, I'm not going to speak up, I'm not going to tell them my opinion. That feeling goes away. For me, that works. For you, it might be a different question that triggers that kind of feeling within you, that brings you back to peace. It could be an affirmation, it could be a visualization of a little scene that makes you feel at peace, that makes you feel like you know who you are. That's why it's so important to know or to have a gist of who you are or who you want to become in order to show up authentically every day. I understand that we struggle to speak our truth in fear of hurting someone because we all have wounds and traumas we have yet to heal from and release. It's also kind of like we are scared of doing the wrong thing. Maybe because we've been screamed at when we were younger for doing the wrong thing or for saying the wrong thing, or you could have done this better, you could have said that better. That results in us feeling this, like the survival instinct kicks in. We actually associate pleasing other people with surviving, which is actually kind of crazy, but we kind of do. We're really being in fight or flight mode in that moment, and we're trying to escape from that fear, from that feeling that we're doing something wrong, the fear of making mistakes. So we forgot about ourselves for a while, about the things that we want, about the person we want to be, about our own opinions. Instead, we focus more on what other people want from us. But if someone is triggered or hurt by your authenticity without you having any intention to hurt anyone, remember it's not about you. Sometimes it's their own wounds. They fear showing up authentically. They fear speaking their own minds. And so they project it onto you and they feel that that's a trigger, and they don't want you to be that way because they don't allow themselves to be that way. So you can practice authenticity every day in small ways by just showing up for yourself and speaking your own truth. No matter what you do, you can show up authentically, and don't let anyone else tell you what that has to look like for you. So I hope this video has helped and inspired you in some way. We're all here to share our own experiences, and in hopes that it will inspire someone or help someone. You also go do your own thing. Don't wait for someone else's validation, and also don't let anyone else discredit your experience. I'm looking forward to hanging with you guys again in the next episode, and I'm sending so much love and positive energy your way. Until next time. Woo!